Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where it is you're coming from. I'm Bill Anderson, and I'm coming live from the Costa del Sol. For those of you who may be sitting in sort of dreary weather, at the moment it's not too bad here. It's about 35 degrees, but we are expecting our first heat wave of the summer, and we're told that it could go up to 46 degrees. That's kind of fry an egg on the bonnet of your car kind of weather, folks. It's not really very pleasant. But that's what it's all about. And there are those of us that have been here a lot of years who just wish we could go somewhere cool for the summer. But we'll survive it. I'm delighted today to have Gerald. Now, how do you pronounce your surname? Gomis?
Yes, Gerald Gomis.
Gerald Gomis with us today. Gerald, you're not English, are you?
No, I'm actually half French, half Spanish.
Right, but you speak very good English, yeah. So,
I'm married.
Gerald, actually, Expat Radio is being broadcast from France. So perhaps for our French listeners, I know there are a lot of French listeners, you'd like to give some little welcome to them in French?
Donc, je souhaite la bienvenue à tous les auditeurs français et francophones.
I tell you what, French sounds so good spoken by French people. It's, it sounds a bit strange sometimes when we foreigners try to have a go at it, but it sounds so good. Gerald, welcome to the show this afternoon. We met during the week on a kind of separate issue, not about the radio show. We're going to find out a little bit about you, but one of the things you're trying to do here is to set up, well, you've done it, is to set up a rugby team here in Mijas, yeah?
Well, yes. I mean, after many years playing rugby, coaching children as well in France, and then after in Marbella, I decided during the pandemic, we decided that there was a lack of a rugby club in Mijas,
Right.
and we wanted to set up a new club. So we started last summer and started training, setting up a club, and started the competition in December.
Right. We're going to come back for some more detail on that, Gerald, but where are you from originally?
I'm from France, from Toulouse.
From
I
Toulouse.
from a big rugby nation.
Right, of course, yeah. Well, you're talking to a lot of Scots and English people here as well, and so how did you end up then down here on the Costa del Sol?
Well, when I first arrived, I didn't think I was going to play because I was getting a bit too old.
Hmm.
I'm 46, but I inscribed my children into Marbella Rugby Club, and they basically got me to play straight away and train the children as well.
Right, okay. And
3 years ago.
why moving from Toulouse to the Costa del Sol, Gerald?
Well, I've always wanted to live in Spain. It was just a matter of time and getting the family organized, but
Right.
we moved for the weather.
Ah, now you must be the first person that's come down here for the weather, yeah? What's what's this? I don't know Toulouse, but what is the typical sort of weather there? Is it lots of rain and
No, it's actually good. It's warm in the summer, very cold in the winter.
right? Okay,
So not like Scotland, but still cold.
yeah,
So, but we have more season. We notice the 4 season. Weather here
yeah,
is like a permanent summer, pretty much.
yeah. I always say that there are two seasons down here on the Costa del Sol, and that's summer and not summer. And the only way you know it is what's growing in the garden or what fruits on the trees, you know. But there aren't. I kind of miss the seasons down here. I have to be honest.
Well, I don't mind. I quite like the fact it's warm all year round, and I mean there is no winter really. The winter is mild, and I quite like that.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big reasons to come, as well as the Spanish culture for the children to learn another language as well. So that was is a lot of reason to come down here.
Yeah, so you say you're half French and half Spanish. Which half is which, Gerald?
Yeah, it's even more complicated, but all pretty much three of my grandparents were Spanish, and one was actually French.
Okay, right. So it does get rather complicated, but you speak very good Spanish too, don't you?
Yes, I learned Spanish as a child. I spoke with my grandparents, with my family, so my Spanish is okay. I still have a very strong French accent, as well as I have in English too. but
Yeah, but
but I
it sounds nice. I like English spoken well with a French accent. I think sounds really nice, Gerald.
thank you.
But coming down here, well, obviously, you're not retired, are you?
No, I'm not retired. I had the possibility to develop my business that was originally in France, developed it in Spain as well. So I've got some real estate agency
Right,
in the south coast of France, in the Côte d'Azur, and I noticed there was some similarity in between the Costa del Sol and the Côte d'Azur. So it's the same kind of people, good weather, the sea, the sun.
sure,
So the clients are the same as well. We're offering the same product pretty much.
right. But it's really important. I think a lot of people fall foul of this, coming to live here and hoping to work here and not speaking the language. It really is a key factor, isn't it?
I think it would be more difficult if I didn't speak the language. I don't think I could have developed the company,
Right,
or I would have needed to hire more Spanish people.
right.
So I think the language is essential on a daily basis. We live in Spain. We need to speak Spanish.
Yeah, and when it's your business as well, you want to feel that you're in control of it and you're having the conversations that have to be had and you're kind of driving the whole thing forward and not someone that you've employed because they speak Spanish, yeah?
Yeah, we need. It's important to be able to understand. I mean, the administration, the clients. I mean, some clients are Spanish. Still, the majority of my clients are Spanish because we're in Spain.
Yeah, sure. And how are things? I know we're going to talk about rugby, but just to pick up on what you're doing just now, how are things moving at the moment in terms of real estate?
Well, let's call it the post-COVID, the post-lockdown was really positive. We've sold much more villa than we ever did because people were moving from apartment to villa.
Right,
A lot of Spanish are now also working from home, so people from Madrid even are moving to the Costa del Sol,
right.
uh, and a lot of people also from the UK, from France, from Northern Europe have now they can move. Now they can work from home.
Mm.
They decided to move here pretty much permanently and work from home.
Right. Yeah, and I had a live stream last night and I didn't know this, but there's a new visa sort of in preparation at the moment. I was on with Anna Nandith, who is the president of Brexpats in Spain, and she was talking about it. She calls it the digital nomad visa, but
Wow.
we think it's a visa which is still in the preparation stages, but it will allow people who let's just say are employed by a company in the UK and they want to come and live in Spain and do teleworking. And it will allow that to happen much more easily, and I think there are going to be some tax benefits in it for them as well, providing 80% of their income comes from outside of Spain. So, what you're talking about of people getting more into teleworking,
Yeah.
I think is probably going to be, I don't know, a good or a bad legacy of COVID, but probably a reality, isn't it?
I think it was fantastic because people realized that, and the big company realized that it was possible to have people working from home and continue to be efficient, if not more efficient, even. So, I mean, for my company, we now everyone is working from home, and they enjoy it better. We meet once a week or during the months, but not too much. Um, and that gives people a chance to come and live in the Costa del Sol.
Mm.
So,
Okay, we're going to talk about rugby. So you were a rugby player in France, yeah?
yeah, I've always been a rugby player since I
Yeah.
was young. I started rugby in France. I played until I was pretty much 40 in France.
Right.
I'm 46 now. So when I come to Spain, I thought I wouldn't play rugby anymore. But then, I mean, I started and I can't really stop. I like it.
And I have to say, I mean, we have met in person, Gerald, and you have got what I would say is the build of a rugby player. You're not overweight, but by God, you're solid, aren't you?
I am overweight, but,
Now,
but I suppose most rugby players are.
yeah, but you say I went to a school where rugby was the kind of first sport that we played, and I used to be terrified of guys with with your build sort of hitting me on the rugby field. Are you still there, Gerald?
It's not all about it. Well, there is rugby is very inclusive. We got skinny people, big people, small people, all sorts.
Yeah, and I guess you need some people who are really fast, don't you? Who are not necessarily built for the scrums.
Exactly. We need the fast one to run with the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so you come down here and you have come into football land, haven't you?
Yes. Well, when I first arrived in Spain, I thought that might be the thing I will miss the most was rugby.
Hmm.
I actually realized that there is quite a lot of rugby in Spain. Of course, it's football land, and football is much more present. There is more rugby than I thought, but there is still a lack, and I thought it could be better.
Hmm.
Um, Instead of just whinging and complaining about Spanish rugby, I say I'm going to try and help and set up a club and maybe set up an academy and a rugby school
Right.
uh, to have kids that could be able to practice rugby in Mijas.
Uh-huh.
So that was the original idea, and then try and develop an academy to teach better rugby, to give them a chance to maybe go and play in the future in another country.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah, so rugby league or rugby union?
well, rugby union,
Rugby union, it had to be, didn't it?
yeah, at the moment is rugby union.
Yeah.
There is no rugby league, hardly no rugby league in Spain.
Okay. And is it a federated sport here in Spain? Is there a rugby federation?
Yes, there is a very strong rugby federation, which is a Federación Española de Rugby.
Hmm.
But there is also the Andalusian Federation,
Okay.
which is basically ruling the regional rugby in Andalusia and the children rugby.
Yeah. And we were talking about the importance of being able to speak Spanish, and when you want to talk to these places like the Federation, you have to be able to really have a conversation in Spanish with them about it, don't you?
Yeah, it's all Spanish, and it will be absolutely impossible to do that if you don't speak Spanish. You can play rugby without speaking Spanish. That's not a problem, but the relation with the federation and all the bureaucracy,
Uh-huh.
uh, even into the rugby, is completely 100% Spanish.
Yeah, and this is it. It's not what you do on the field that's important in terms of the language. It's the negotiating with the Spanish authorities, isn't it?
Yes, it's a permanent fight, let's say, with the authority, because rugby is not the biggest sport here. Is still a small sport. There is priority to the football, so everything we want to do, we have. I mean, like having a rugby field or setting up a club. During the pandemic, it took us nearly 6 months to set up a club and get the feedback from the Junta de Andalucía.
Yeah, which is the regional authority. Yeah, yeah. I've just got a message from our producer Dave, and he's saying that Philippe San André was the coach when he played for Sale Colts in the 1980s. Does the name ring
Wow.
a bell?
Yeah, of course, one of the famous rugby player, one of the most famous in France, and coach as well.
Right.
I mean, I was only 5 years old in 1980. So, so, but yes, I mean, yes, I've known him. I've never met him physically, but I've known him and watched him on television when I was a child.
Yeah, he's probably responsible, single-handedly responsible for all of Dave's injuries, his bad ankles and his bad knees. And Dave was saying he was playing in 87, 88. So you were a little bit older then.
Yeah, that's 87, 88. Yeah, born in 75. I was 12. I didn't start rugby until I was actually 15.
Right, okay.
But I come from a rugby family. My mum is a rugby player and a rugby trainer. She,
Right, okay. And how typical is that? I mean, is a very strong women's rugby in France?
well, it's getting stronger now, but I mean, in those year in the late 60s, it was probably one of the first club in France when she started.
Right,
And now she's training children. She's also one of the few women training children in France. There's not that many. But yes, it's getting more and more popular. Even in Spain, we are also aiming to have a Spanish team. In Mijas, we are aiming to have a feminine team,
right.
maybe starting this year.
Yeah. So you were saying, Gerald, that getting through the bureaucracy just to set the club up is difficult. Do you think the bureaucracy in Spain is more complicated or worse than the bureaucracy in France?
It's it's certainly more complicated on creating an association and a sport association. It's definitely slower.
Right,
So okay, maybe it is because it was a pandemic that it took 6 months, but in a normal time, I mean, just to answer an email, it could take nearly a month.
right.
So yeah, that's a bit slow.
Yeah, but so you got there, you got your club registered with the
Mhm.
Andalusian Federation, Rugby
Yeah,
Federation.
yeah.
And then do you need to go to the local authority and get it registered there? What's the next step?
Well, we got the club registered last year. We started the championship. We were all official, and we find out a year later that we needed to register the club into the actual town hall
Mm,
in order to get anything, in order to get a room, in order to get a field, in order to get subvention. But then this is a good thing as well that I can see a positive attitude now from the town hall because finally people realize that rugby is a good sport and they're willing to help us.
yeah,
It has just taken a very long time, but now people are ready to help.
yeah. Well, I kind of had a head start with rugby because I lived just a stone's throw away from the Scottish National Rugby Ground at Murrayfield. And my primary school was virtually next door to it, so we used to get tickets for the for the rugby matches, and they were nearly all then the Five Nations. And then I went to a high school that was very much rugby orientated. If I followed any kind of sports, probably rugby was the one I used to follow most. And what is it they say? It's a game for hooligans played by gentlemen. Is that true?
Correct. Correct.
You didn't need to think about that one, no.
No, but that's really true. We've been they say it even in France.
Really, the same thing, yeah. And of course, in football, they tend to say the other one. It's a game for gentlemen played by hooligans. But I'm not going to get you to comment on that, Gerald. I don't want you to get into
I
trouble.
won't start commenting on football.
Okay, so you get your club registered with the federation in Andalusia. You get it registered with the local council here in Mijas, and yeah, it may mean that you may be eligible for some grants and things, but I think it's acknowledging that you are an organized group, isn't it? That's the more important part here, and recognized.
It's yes, I think it was very important for us to be recognized because I mean we started in a difficult period. We were the only club in Spain and probably the only club in Europe that have been set up during the pandemic.
During the pandemic, yeah.
We also one of the only club that have such a variety of people.
Hmm.
We have 16 different countries represented in the club,
Right.
with a strong presence of British, South African, French, Russian, Spanish people, of course, and
Sure.
Argentinian. There's not many Spanish. We are trying now to get more and more Spanish coming, so we're going to start working on communication, try and get Spanish people.
Yeah.
But there is a big part of Argentinian and British people.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting because one of the things that does in itself, it brings nationalities together because we do down here very often tend to stick to our own groups. The Brits stick with the Brits, the Germans stick with the Germans, the
French,
Swedes
they
or
were
the
the French.
Norwegians stick with the Norwegians, the French stick with the French, and I think this bringing together of different nationalities with a common interest is more than just about the sport, isn't it? It really is pulling people together.
It's well, but this is rugby. It's not just a sport. Is the social aspect of rugby is always been important.
Right.
After the game, we used to have the third half, and this is as important as the other two. In the third half, people communicate together. So
and
it's about,
I guess there might be some alcohol involved in that as well normally, yeah.
well, yes, of course, but it's not the main thing. It's the communication is the important part.
Yeah, well, obviously you haven't played in Scotland.
I've never been to Scotland. I quite like to go to Murrayfield and watch a rugby game in Scotland.
Yeah, it's a very nice stadium. In Murrayfield, they have an electric blanket under the grass because, of
Wow.
course, rugby is played mostly in the winter. I do remember in a rugby field, going out and it is sort of -5 degrees, and the ground was like cement, So in the actual stadium, that they have an electric blanket under it to warm
Wow.
it up for the matches.
And this is something I discovered in Spain is most of the field are actually synthetic, artificial
Yeah.
stuff because it's too hot and it's really difficult to maintain a green field in grass.
Yeah, but I mean, how is that artificial stuff for the kind of activity that rugby involves, and the diving and I mean, does it
It's
not burn?
is normally adapted. Is if it's a good five generation turf is really adapted to rugby, so it doesn't hurt. It just need to be watered before the game.
Right.
So they put sprinklers and it's watered and it's okay. It's really good now. They improved a lot. The old one used to be a nightmare. So when you go to some places with old artificial field, it does burn when you fall.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it sort of reminds me of skiing on artificial slopes, these sort of nylon bristles. And it's fine if you fall over on the snow, but when you fall over
yeah,
on these nylon bristles, it kind of hurts.
yeah, but it was the alternative, and I think it's a very good alternative to allow people to be able to play all the time. It's more resistant. It doesn't need so much maintenance neither. So I think it's a good investment.
Right. Okay. Listen, Gerald, we're going to take a short break. I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about, who's involved with you and the complexities of the kind of process of getting things going. So
Yeah.
little break just now, and then we'll be back to talk in a couple of minutes. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
To Expat Radio, beaming out across France and around the world.
Well, welcome back to Expat Radio. I'm Bill Anderson, and we are coming live from the Costa del Sol. My guest today is Gerald Gomis, who is, well, actually, you're a president, aren't you, Gerald? You're not just a coach, you're the president of the Mijas Rugby Club.
Yeah. Well, when we started the club back in August last year, it was only three of us. So
Right.
someone had to be the president.
And so you drew straws and you lost, yeah?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
And we've been talking about the kind of challenges that have been facing you in setting up a rugby club within the federated system here in Andalusia. in football land, which is what Spain is. But you have had some other difficulties, haven't you? And this is about where to play.
Well, yes. Ever since we started, it was a big question is where we were going to play.
Yeah,
We originally thought we could play rugby on a football pitch, like it happens in many places, or in the middle of an athleticism ring, like it happens in every country. But in Spain, they don't really want the football pitch to be used by rugby, or the athleticism place doesn't really accept rugby neither
right.
in Mijas. So it was really difficult. And still today, we don't have a field.
Yeah, so this is a kind of ongoing thing for you, isn't it? You've had various venues where you have been able to play, but you're going to be looking for something that's a bit more permanent, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one, it's been a huge cost to travel to every single game. We ended up playing every single game outside.
Right,
So when we normally in the league, you play twice against the same team. You're going to play in their field, and they come to play in your field.
right.
Because Mijas didn't have a rugby field, we ended up playing twice in their field all the time. So more cost, more traveling, more difficulty to find players, and we couldn't start the rugby school, the children, because we didn't have a field. Finally, this summer, we decided to start on the beach. So we
Yes.
started beach rugby, which is going on now every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, well,
In
that's not bad down here because we have 14 kilometers of coastline and lots of beaches, don't we?
Yeah, and beach rugby is also a nice sport. Is less contact, is really nice to play, and why not? I mean, we have the beach. There's everything there, so
And
it's nice.
I tell you what, it must be good for building up stamina and fitness as well, because running on sand is not that easy, is it?
It's really, really difficult. But the field is smaller, and you only play 5 against 5. So and you can change when you're tired. You can permanently change
Yeah.
player.
But it's allowing you at the very least right now to get the people together, get to know each other, and just for them to feel that they actually have a place to go to play.
Yes, it was. It's also giving us a bit of publicity because a lot of people can see us and discover the rugby by watching us playing on the beach. The children like it. We have now quite a lot of children starting to play as well. So it now become urgent for us to get a field, and I know the town hall is trying to help us to set up and find a field really quickly. So
Yeah, yeah. And of course it's August and
nothing happened in August in Spain.
that's what everyone says, isn't it? It's August. Oh, nothing happens in August. And actually it's pretty much true, isn't it?
Everyone is in holiday.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult to get answers, and
But I guess certainly by the middle of September, when the schools all go back and hopefully everything gets back onto sort of full pace again, then this will start to move forward for you a little bit.
well, that would be fantastic. I think for us, if we could have a pitch, that would be our rugby field in Mijas. That would be a massive thing for the rugby in Mijas.
Yeah, sure. So I do know that you've had a lot of interest, not just for playing, but of ex-rugby players, haven't you, who want to be involved in this project?
Yes, we have quite a lot of people contacting us through social media. We did a massive campaign of social media in order to find players originally, and strangely, a lot of ex-player contacted us from England, from South Africa, and they want to help and be part of the social group and help with training, help with the organization of the club.
Yeah. And I mean, it's great that yet again at a kind of coaching level, you're going to have quite an international team, aren't you?
Yes, we started with Graham Clark, that was an Irish coach. He's been helping us last year, and that was really, really good to have him coming from Ireland to coach us. We also had Eduardo, which was our Argentinian coach
Right.
for the forward. So it was a very nice mix. This year, we don't know yet who's going to train us. So we got to find out in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. But in the meantime, you're going to continue with your practice sessions on the beach, yeah?
Yes, that will not stop. We'll probably continue the beach rugby until mid September.
Yeah. So if rugby's not a big it's not a big thing down here, certainly not compared with football. Do you find plenty of teams to play against?
Yes, there is in Andalusia. There is on our level 15 team
Okay.
in total of adult senior. In total, there is about 25 team, I think. So it's plenty enough to play. There is a proper league we normally play 10 game in the league.
Right.
So it's nearly 2 months.
Are you going to have to set up more than one team by age, or how does that work, Gerald?
Yes, I mean, we started, the original idea was to have a veteran team. That was my idea because I'm old, so I wanted to set up a team for the old guys. But very quickly, we had some younger people joining us last year. So this year, we will have a senior team that will play in competition, and we will also have a veteran team.
Okay.
If we are also looking, if we do have a pitch, to start all the category with all the team from under 6 to under 18.
Yeah.
But for that, we are completely dependent on a training pitch. We cannot train on the beach all year round.
No, it's at some point you need to get into sort of real conditions, don't you, for the training? Yeah.
Yeah, especially for the children, which is much more demanding. They need less space than us. Their field is smaller, but they need good condition, showers, etc. I mean, for us, it's not too bad because we can shower when we get home. At the moment, it's okay.
Yeah, but you also have some ideas to sort of boost the awareness of rugby, don't you? You've got your club, but you've also had talks already with the education department.
Yes, this is something that happens a lot in Northern Europe, and I know they do it sometime in the UK. But we will try to present rugby into the school system. It will probably be easier into the British school.
Sure.
But we want to present rugby into the Spanish school to get rugby more visible and to make people understand what rugby is. So we are at the moment in contact with the education side, and if it's not possible this year, we'll definitely be present in the school of Mijas next year.
Right.
The idea maybe this year they will let us go into the school and have some little games to show to the children and even to the adult and the teacher what rugby really is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's some kind of taster, isn't it? Just to get the feel of it. Listen, these Spanish lads have a lot of energy. So I can imagine if they have the opportunity to have a go at this, I can't see them saying no. We'll just stick to football.
I think for many reasons into the school, the rugby will be very well integrated. Today, most sport require to be fit, fast, etc. Well, in rugby, we accept and we need all sorts of shape. As you said earlier, we need a tall one, slim. We need a tall, big. We need a small, fat. So there is all sorts of people into a rugby team, and we value them. And for certain children, when they're overweight, they get rejected into pretty much every sport.
Right.
In rugby, we make them important because we need them.
Of course.
We need these big guys to push the scrum.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So it really, I mean, it really is a very inclusive project, isn't it?
It is completely inclusive. We want to do all sorts for girl, for boy, for everybody. So yes, it's completely inclusive, and I think that's the definition of rugby.
Okay. So lots of plans then, Gerald. Nothing's going to happen in August because nothing happens in August. And obviously, in terms of the school planning, that has to be done quite a way in advance, doesn't it?
Yes, I've been told this need to be planned in May for the next year.
Right.
So I think we have missed next season for the school, but we will be ready in May to present a new project for next school year.
Right. Okay. And how are you financing all of this at the moment?
Well, this is a big question. We just about. We decided yesterday to set up a crowdfunding because we will need bigger investment. The first year, the player have paid for absolutely everything,
Right.
and we had a few sponsors. We did get a lot of help from some businesses on the Costa del Sol. Our main sponsor is actually the Irish pub Billy Mulligan in La
Okay.
Cala,
Yeah.
which helped us and has been also supported by Guinness, which was a nice thing to have on our level.
Indeed.
We have a couple of private sponsors that helped us this year as well. There is a list which I'm not gonna give now because it's a long
No.
list.
Yeah.
But it's mostly the players have paid for everything. They travel in their own car. They even bought the balls and everything.
Right.
So
Yeah, but it's early days still, isn't it? And it's good that you have some sponsorship from. I told you alcohol would be involved in there somewhere, Guinness, yeah. But it's good that you're getting some sponsorship, and I think this is a great project. I'm afraid I can't really help you with it because I don't even remember the rules of rugby now. But I would like to come along and watch at some point.
it will be really nice. You will be invited to our first game when we play this season.
That would be nice. I'd like to do that. Okay, Gerald, we're going to take another short break, and then I'm going to talk to you when we come back about another project that you have underway. Okay, so let's go over to Dave for a short break just now. Hello, I'm Bill Anderson. Welcome back to the Costa del Sol, where we're coming live. My guest today, Gerald Gomis. We've been talking about his work in establishing and setting up a rugby club here in Mijas, and some of the challenges in a country that is very much football orientated. But Gerald, you've been down here, what, 4 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years. Okay. How did you find the kind of settling down into a community down here? Because for those that don't know Mijas, we are 85,000 people spread over 150 square kilometers. We're not a city, we're not a big town. How did you find this whole kind of settling down and finding your place in community?
Well, I moved here with my family, and we've been accepted by the British community because my wife is English, and the surrounding where I live in Mijas Golf is mostly British as well.
Right.
So we were integrated very quickly. People were really nice. There is a lot of social media, a lot of groups, so it's easy to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
And through the rugby, we created another community.
Yeah.
Yes,
you are in the process of creating another community, aren't you?
oh yes, the subject came along, having a beer with a lot of expats in our local pizzeria in Mijas Golf, and we noticed that we were all turning up with not collection cars but vintage car.
Right.
They're not necessarily luxurious car. They're not necessarily really old, but old enough to be vintage. And we were talking about setting up a vintage car club
Right.
in
Okay.
Mijas Golf.
So I have a number of 27 years old in my head for vintage. Is that about right?
Well, I think it's 25 in
Oh,
Spain.
25. Okay.
For a car to be classed as a collection car, is 25. But I mean, the idea was not to be restrictive because most collection, there is a lot of clubs in the Costa del Sol already existing, but they're really restricted and they really specialized. The car has to be in perfect condition to be accepted, etc.
Right.
We want to leave it open just for this old car that just needs a second life.
Right. So you're really talking about the sort of classic car clubs there, aren't you? And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
And vintage. Sorry.
no, it's beautiful to see them, but it does probably feel a bit kind of elitist, you know?
Exactly. The classic car, not everyone can have a classic car, and there is a lot, not that many. Whether there is a lot of vintage car that get rarely used because they're
Right.
20 years old or 25 years old.
Right. And so what's
And
your idea? You know, you're sitting there having a beer with some friends, and a number of you have got these vintage cars. What is your idea?
well, it's a really new project that is not even started yet. It was a project when I started talking to you this week about it.
Right.
It's a project we did with a few people, and we want to try and make it maybe meet once a month and eat together or have a drink together, but just drive somewhere. Or maybe once a month we could go to different places with our car and
Yeah.
just basically have a drive all together.
So what is your vintage car then, Gerald?
It's not technically my car. Is my wife's car. She's got a Beetle, a convertible Beetle
Right.
that was completely renovated.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Completely.
So a Beetle
So
convertible. Oh wow. That's going
an
back,
old
isn't it?
one from 1974.
Right. My goodness. That's getting on now, isn't it? I
Yes.
I remember in the early 1980s, a friend who had a Beetle, and we were living in London at the time. And I remember that he had to weigh the front of it down with a sack of cement because in the kind of winter weather with the rain and the ice and the winds and things, he used to find that the front of the car used to lift up a bit, so he had a sack of cement in the bonnet because the engine's in the rear, isn't it?
Yes. That's yeah. Driving old cars is a completely different experience, especially for the young people that have never driven them.
Yeah.
It's really physic. It's hard to steer. It's hard to brake, and you really have to anticipate as well.
Absolutely. I think I told you I had a MG midget back in Scotland, and I remember just what you're saying. You know, my God, you had to drive this thing. It didn't drive itself, and you had to hold it on the road with the steering wheel. And as you said, with the braking, your foot was almost through the floor to get it to brake.
It's yeah. It's an experience. Driving a classic car sometimes could be fun.
Yeah, it is. And you have to be careful though when you go back into your sort of modern car that you don't try to drive it the same way. Because
Yeah.
I,
Uh,
I do remember nearly going through the windscreen when I braked on my sort of newish car after driving the midget. But yeah, it's good fun, isn't it?
yeah, and it's fun. It's fun to see those car, and it's also a social event. It's just
Yeah.
meeting people and talking to people, and I think that could be a new project for this year.
But there was also something else that you said to me when we were talking this week, which I thought was interesting, and that's about maybe the opportunities for using some of these cars in filmmaking.
Yes, well, there is in social media. I've seen many times they're asking for a specific car, or for making film, or for wedding, or for event. So basically, if we make a club and we have all the car in one place, the association could help help those film company to find the car easier.
Right. So there may be some other options there for you, yeah?
Yes, well, we have to try and open every possibility, and we are still open to suggestion and to any idea that people can bring into it, or everyone can join.
Yeah. It's a very nice idea, and as you say, for social contact, it's very nice. And also, I know that when cars reach a certain age, they need a fair bit of maintenance, don't they? And I guess that people will be sharing experiences and helping each other out a bit, because it's also part of the fun of having an older car that's not full of electronics, and I think it's a very nice idea.
Yes, having old cars, it's something you can actually fix yourself if you know a little bit of mechanic, and people can help each other. So yeah, that's part of the idea as well. Is not just driving the car; is you probably spend more time cleaning it and and making it look good.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I had the midget, it was a nice sort of hobby to have at the weekend, you know, buying some bits and fixing them up, just really spending time, just playing around with it, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, is what I prefer is buying bits for the car and fixing it and cleaning it, etc. Is what goes with an old car.
Yeah. And is it still? I know then it was very easy to buy parts for these cars. Is it still fairly easy to get spares for older
Yeah,
cars?
yes, because I mean they're not classic, they're not really old, so there is still you can find pieces quite easy, and you find it online now. So there is specialized company for pretty much each car.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, Gerald, I really would like to thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's been interesting. We wish you all the very best with both of these projects. And I will wait for my invitation to the your first match, and I promise you we will be there.
Thank you, that'll be lovely.
And yeah, we'll keep in touch and see how things are going and progressing. Gerald, thank you very much. Can I wish you a very good weekend? And thank you to those of you who've been listening in. Have a great weekend. We're going to be sitting inside with the air conditioning on, I think, if the temperatures do reach 46 as they're predicting. Thank you so much. And we're going to go out with a song from Ray Charles.
Thank you.